are you? How's it going? Well, let's start with these images, showing attacks beginning to unfold. This time, according to what Iranian media are reporting, they would be attacking the headquarters of the 5th Fleet of the Navy in Bahrain. The attacks are spreading to different Gulf countries. So, let's get into the details of what's happening. If you're joining us, go ahead and like and share. Meanwhile, well, you can see these missiles. Let's watch it again. This is, what would it be? A ballistic missile, right?
It is a ballistic missiles from Iran.
Right? It's about Iran. Well, let's listen for a moment to when they're passing by. Another image that stands out is this one. This would be, let's say, at night. Everything is super dark. You can see it, especially at the start of the video. Let's check here on the screen. No, I can't see it. But let's see if we can show it right now because it's there. Should it be up there, right? There it is. It's just that they're 1 second. They're seconds, right? In the end, it's just people recording. They're not professional cameras or anything. But there it is, right? At least trying to capture a little bit. This activity was seen over Iran. The United States is also already carrying out the, well, 3rd wave, according to reports, 3rd wave of attacks against Iran. And at the same time, they're talking about how they're going to try to negotiate. I mean, while they're carrying out those ballistic missile attacks from both sides, it's intense. But we'll talk about that in a moment. First, let's see what's happening. Let's see what we're looking at here.
Here we're seeing the attack that happened in Bahrain. You can actually see where a projectile, a missile lands. Let me go back a bit. Here it is. Look.
Oh, but...
You can see it there. Did you see the flash?
No. Let's see.
So, but anyway, I did see it.
Right, well, I saw him do it. I already saw him. You already saw him. Well, that's good. But nobody else has seen him, right? Around here? There it is. Let's see. Let's try going back a little bit again.
Between the two in this U here.
Here on this side, in that little gap, in that mouth. That's it. Yes, there it is. That was an attack caught on a security camera. Hey, well, the city looks pretty full of buildings, very typical of these Gulf countries. And well, also here, what are we looking at?
Here we are seeing an Iranian drone flying over Iraq. These images were already, well, in our afternoon, they were already starting to circulate. These images are from the live broadcast that happened in the afternoon that we did there outdoors, which was the 1st wave. Hey.
And yes, it caught us. It caught us outside. And like that, Astrid did a short live broadcast on her cell phone, just to let you know that the United States was already attacking Iran. Well, you know that here we try to keep you updated throughout the day about the situations wherever we are. And well, a big shout out to my namesake Jose. Greetings to everyone. To Ofe Mendez, to MT. So many familiar faces, right? Thank you so much to Roble and everyone joining us. Big greetings. Thank you for being part of the community. Eril, how have you been? Let's go. I think we have another image. How have you all been? Greetings, salute. I believe there are more images, right? Let's discuss details, but for now, let's keep talking and see. Explosions have been reported in Yazd. That's on the southern coast of Iran, according to the news agency. Well, there's talk of a supposed list of targets that haven't been confirmed, but that are reportedly being carried out. This time, let's see. Attacks that are being carried out in which, well, it was expected that there would be a response to the United States because of the helicopter, right? I mean, it was expected that there would be a response because Iran shot down one of their helicopters. But I think the response has been, well, pretty tough. And clearly there were already targets they had in different parts of Iran. And they said right away, as soon as we can, we'll destroy them. Right? Basically. So what is known up to this point?
All of this started. This was at 5 p.m. We were talking about this in the afternoon when the one from CENTCOM reported on this operation. That this is a response to what they say is proportional to Iran's unjustified aggression. This is about the helicopter issue, which, well, today, by the way, it was leaked that Trump actually wanted to, let's say, turn a blind eye to the helicopter issue. But Pete Hegseth and Dan Kane, who is in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, told him no, that there had to be a response. And this has been the response. After 3 hours, the Central Command, according to CENTCOM, had already finished the attacks. This was just the first wave, but obviously there had to be others afterwards because, well, Iran has been responding quite strongly.
All right, then let's see. That's the response. Pete Hegseth and Dan Kane convinced Trump that he had to respond because Donald Trump was giving signals. He even made a post where he hinted that there was going to be some kind of response. But honestly, it felt more like he was upset, but not that much, you know? I mean, it seemed like the response was going to be something very basic at first, but then there was a stronger response. And this is because apparently Pete Hegseth and Dan Kane stepped up. Right now, they're behind the scenes. And there's talk about the possible departure of Pete Hegseth. By the way, do they think he might be fired soon because he didn't deliver the expected results? Because everything was left unfinished? Because, well, with what was proposed to attack Iran, the regime was supposed to fall. So in the end, they haven't liked this. And, well, there also has to be some kind of consequence. Because that way with that, it's like, in quotes, Trump, like, no, well, it's this guy's fault, right? If you notice, he already started blaming Israel, right? Why? Because he has realized this. And this is shown in polls in which MAGA, but also a good part of the population, we're talking about roughly 6 out of every 10 people, right? Who are totally against Israel's positions in the United States. I mean, it went from being, for a good part of the American population, favorable, let's say, to what's the problem? Israel. I mean, it went from being an American society that was favorable on many issues. So on the topic of Israel, they were favorable to, well, yes, issues of Palestine, and now they're against it. So we're talking about 37% now support Israel and the rest don't support it. So Donald Trump senses this. He sees it in the polls and he says, you know what? Well, it's time not to support Netanyahu. That's why we're also seeing this issue with Netanyahu. Not so much because he gets along better. I mean, he's going to go wherever the votes are. And if right now it's unpopular to support Israel, well, then he's going to badmouth him and say whatever about Netanyahu because obviously that's convenient for him. From an electoral point of view, we're going to see that trend, and it's probably going to become more and more noticeable. But Iran's mistake was attacking that helicopter, because in that sense, there was definitely going to be a response, and the response was going to happen.
That's what he's looking for, isn't it?
Iran, I mean, I don't think it's really Iran. What it wants is a response. It's
not a mistake for them. It's the strategy.
Let's say mistake in quotes, because they just have to hold back. I mean, they have to see how far they can go. First, they attacked Kuwait, a United States base, where, by the way, there were both contractors and American soldiers injured. But they said the injuries were minor. So, well, no, nothing happened. I found it very strange that nothing happened. Normally, when bases are attacked, there's a response. And then they attack Kuwait 2 or 3 more times. I mean, there were several attacks like that, and nothing was done. And in one of those instances, Trump said, well, if they attack and there are losses of American soldiers, then we're going to give a very strong response. And I don't know when. I think this was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly. And well, at first there were explosions in the Ormagazan area. Also in Sirik and on Kems Island, which has also been one of the most attacked, because we have to remember that there they have different, let's say, military points. Drones are also launched from there, etc. There are also boats as well. From there, they are monitoring all the ships that pass through that strait. Well, basically, they are in the strait. And no, the regime hasn't given any numbers of victims, of people who have lost their lives. On their part, explosions were also heard in Bandar Abbas. And both Sirik and Keshe are located in a strategic area for what is the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, let's see. So now we already have a third wave. Attacks from Iran as well. I mean, attacks and counterattacks. Let's say yes. Now, let's go to what Iran did. Let's look at the responses Iran has been giving. So let's say what's going on.
Well, Iran has already launched missiles and hyperballistic missiles. Well, ballistic missiles, sorry. There are drones targeting U.S. bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. and it has gone a little further because, well, Jordan is basically the gateway to Israel.
Bahrain then. And then we also go towards Kuwait, and a little closer to Israel, which would be towards Jordan, right? That would be this area, right? So, well, that's how it is. Things got intense when they attacked Israel yesterday. In fact, today, some images came out where supposedly there was some damage at an Israeli base. Well, we'll see what Israel says about that, because they have been operating in a very broad way. Well, this was expected. It was basically what they wanted, because this gives the Iranians the excuse to want to boycott the World Cup, basically, right? I mean, hopefully it doesn't get any worse, but the alert should be at its highest right now in that regard.
Exactly. The Revolutionary Guard's comment on these attacks says the United States attacked several locations in Has, Zirik, and camps early this morning under the false pretenses and damaged a telecommunications tower in Zirik. They destroyed 2 water tanks in the city. It's very important because attacking infrastructure that affects the population is no small thing. There are already images showing that these tanks were damaged and the water that the population depends on is not running right now. And well, also, Revolutionary Guard members were present but did not respond to the enemy's cruelty. Naval fighters from the Guard launched a drone attack against the 5th Fleet in Bahrain at 2:30 a.m. local time. And they warned about stronger responses. Also, they say that 4 military targets were attacked and destroyed, including a group of F-35 hangars at an airbase and a U.S. military command center. This is their statement. This would be at the U.S. base in Jordan, where they claim to have already destroyed F-35s. In the Kuwaiti armed forces, they claim that they also attacked hostile aerial targets there. And what if the Army General Staff announces that? Kuwait's air defense systems, this on behalf of the United States, are currently facing hostile aerial targets according to the established procedures and objectives. Right now, in fact, the attacks are continuing and Kuwait's air defense is still protecting the country.
This image we saw a moment ago shows the moment when the skies could be seen. All the missiles were passing over Bahrain. I don't know if you can see them here. But the trails are very subtle. We have to leave, but those are the trails that were over the island of Bahrain, that kingdom over there. Kuwait's airspace was also affected by this trouble and alert. Estados Unidos seguramente están en alerta. At the moment, there are no reports of attacks. We also covered the story, right? And there have also been recent attacks in that region. So, well, let's move on to another topic. Let's go to another matter also related to this from over there in Iran, but in a different sense. Notice that today there was a report from the authorities, from sites that are practically focused on military matters and also on aviation topics. Didn't you notice that suddenly out of nowhere there started to be movements of civilian planes from Iran to Asia? No? And the planes stayed there, right? They left and they stayed. Yes, they stayed. Apparently they're taking people. But we don't know why or for what purpose, right? But that obviously raised the alarms after those attacks happened. So it seems like all of that was already a sign. What Qatar did, by the way, I think it was yesterday or something.
Yesterday, on Sunday.
It's on Sunday. They closed the airspace, and the airspace will remain closed until the 14th. Not all, not 100% of Qatar, but practically the entire area, let's say, that faces Iran. All this area except for some routes to the south, let's say. Right now those are open, but everything else is closed because Qatar clearly saw that something was coming, right? And that's how we started noticing several signs, right, that were happening around there. And now, well, there is also obviously a reaction from Abbas Araghchi, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And this is what he says.
Well, he sends a rather aggressive comment where he publicly says, "Leave our region if you want to be safe." That's his message, obviously directed at Washington. In this same message, he warns that the country's armed forces will not leave any attack or threat unanswered. And he also pointed out that the history of the Persian Gulf has many chapters about the terrible fates that foreign intruders have suffered. And well, he made it very clear that the Strait of Hormuz is not international waters, but rather a shared space between Iran and Oman.
Hey, well, add his friend there. And that's it. They added Oman exactly, right? I mean this. Well, let's stay tuned for what's coming in the next few hours. But right from the start, there are already reactions, obviously, in the markets. You can already see how oil is skyrocketing now. No, not too much. I mean, we're talking about it going from being at $91 yesterday, and today it's at 94. But, well, no. I mean, yes, it's important. The increase isn't extreme. No, it's not that impressive. So, that's Brent. And West Texas stays at $89, right? I mean, Brent was at 85. Now it's at 89. That's why I'm telling you. I mean, it's not an exaggeration either, right? But, well, those are also small signs, but they're not necessarily that serious, even though the price is still extremely high, right? I mean, serious in the sense that it's not going to shoot up to 110, 120 or things like that, which would be way too much. But even so, the concern is that this might continue, right? There we see it at $89 for Texas, not for Texas. Well, so let's also keep an eye on that issue. Let's move on to other matters as well. Well, look, Netanyahu has already realized it. Israel has already realized it. The next step, the next phase of the war, they'll probably have to fight it alone. Even though right now we're seeing Trump's reactions, the warning Trump has is to see if there are any shots fired because of the, let's say, mistake of having attacked the helicopter. But it's being pointed out that the only way the war could continue would be with Israel and not with the United States. So it would be one country versus another. Obviously, also with all the proxies that Iran has, which are useful, which are the same main axes and others, among other militias out there, then, well, that would be the possibility. What does Netanyahu say?
Well, it's leaked that Netanyahu, during a meeting he had with these cabinets, a security cabinet meeting, well, he says, we may have to act without U.S. support, despite all the costs that entails. And the thing is, it's known that Netanyahu wouldn't want to have to attack Iran alone. However, they are willing to do it if necessary. After all, they are close to the enemy, right? The United States is far away. It has an ocean that protects it, as Zelensky once said in the Oval Office. And they are just a few kilometers from Iran. And the moment Iran has a weapon, well, it's going to put it right there, right? The thing is that the relationship between Netanyahu and Trump is no longer the best. Today, he made fun of whether Netanyahu was planning to become prime minister again. They're no longer together. The honeymoon phase has ended.
Yes, not anymore. They're not in a good relationship. Now, that's how the relationship between these two, between Trump and Netanyahu, has been. I mean, we have to remember that it was the same way during the first term as well. I mean, there was a time when they were very close. And then when the corruption investigations against Netanyahu started, he stopped talking to him. Yes, and he wouldn't even answer his calls or anything. It's like saying, if you're in trouble, handle it yourself and talk to me later, right? And in the second term, the relationship between Netanyahu and Trump was reestablished. The thing here is that there's just not a good relationship right now, right? Period. I mean, there isn't a good relationship. And now this turn that the United States just made is really a hit and run move, basically attacking 2, 3, 4 targets and then pulling back. And that's it. That's where it ends, as they say. That's it. Iran doesn't respond like that. It was strong, although, I mean, they're firing at the bases. Fear. The point is, assuming the Iranian attack isn't very forceful, then maybe the United States can decide, well, let's keep working toward a ceasefire, and so on, and so on.
Right? Exactly. And today as well, Lieutenant General Eyal Samir made a strong statement about Iran. He says that the attacks are not Well, it's a warning to Iran.
I think so, but the lieutenant is from Israel.
Yes, he is from Israel, but he is not the senior lieutenant of the Israeli army, the IDF. And he assures that Sunday's attacks are only a prelude to what they are prepared for. The attack that we carried out in Iran, it was preparation for a more significant and powerful strike. We are prepared to return and launch another severe and far-reaching attack on Iran as they keep issuing warnings. Have basically been issuing their warnings ever since the war slowed down a bit. Let's say it was put on pause because it hasn't ended.
Yeah.
Yes, this. And well, now they are once again ready and willing to attack. For their part, the Israeli population no longer sees the United States as someone who cares about or is interested in Israel's security, which is good. I think this should be clear to everyone. Trump doesn't care about security, absolutely nothing except for himself and his family. Maybe, but above all, about the Trump family.
Well, that's how things are. That's how it is. That's how it's been. Well, no, and that's how it looks. You could see it coming that it was heading that way. Now we're facing... Well, it's a moment in which for Trump, the elections matter more than anything else. The elections are just around the corner. There's a World Cup going on in the middle of all this, which they don't really think he cares about that much either. But let's say it's part of it, especially because of security issues and all that. He doesn't want things to get out of control, or for anything he doesn't want to happen to get out of hand. He wants to keep that situation under control. Now, this kind of conflict eventually spills over into other issues. Today we're going to see the reaction of J.D. Vance. We're also going to see the reaction of the Embassy of Israel in Mexico.
Always.
Hey, well, the Embassy of Mexico in Israel reportedly warned Mexicans because, well, in the end, there could be a reaction. There could also be a reaction from Iran to what's happening right now, right? I mean, in the end, if there's a global event, if there's a situation where they might try to do something, it's not just in the United States. Although, I mean, obviously Mexico has been neutral and hasn't gotten into trouble. Well, yes. But in the end, I mean, some of the countries that were attacked in the Middle East hadn't gotten involved either. Some of them also have US bases, right? For example, Oman was attacked, but now things are going well there. My point is, the Iranians can make that calculation. What has the embassy said? What's the situation?
Well, the warning issued by the Israeli embassy in Mexico is as follows. The Israeli authorities have just announced that due to the ongoing Iranian missile attacks, the commander of the home front has just updated the defense policy throughout the country. This policy will be in effect, well, it started on the 7th, on Sunday, June 7th, and it remains in effect until a few hours ago. For example, educational activities and work-related matters were cancelled in the community of Israel.
Well, the point is that the embassy is informing us about what's happening over there in Israel, about the missile issues and all that. And I think it's a warning for Mexico. At least that's what I believe, not what I think. To say, hey, be careful, because right now you guys are at the World Cup, right? At the end of the day, I think that all of Canada, the United States, and Mexico need to be aware of the problems that exist. Yes, it's true. Mexico doesn't get involved with anyone with any of these kinds of issues. But well, in the end, the World Cup is between 3 countries and one of them is the United States. So who knows, right? Maybe that's what they're thinking. Let's hope. I insist that nothing happens regarding that issue, but that's it. Well, it's also part of what could be causing problems. Now, the message is kind of strange, isn't it? Because, I mean, there have been many before. And now it's interesting that with this kind of message, again, a message just informing about what's happening over there in Israel. Now, activities are going to be suspended over there in Israel. At the same time, you can also see, I mean, they're going to be suspended. I imagine that as long as those kinds of attacks continue, right? In the end, you don't want to put the little ones at risk. And it's better for them to be with their families so they can take shelter quickly. Now, J.D. Vance also reacts to the situation, right?
Exactly. And with such clarity, it's really impressive. Well, to claim that the agreement with Iran will happen, the agreement to end the war will happen in a week or maybe in several months. Well, let's see, that's a lot.
He has insisted on that. He has insisted on that, on talking about this whole issue of how many months it could take. I mean,
obviously, he's not sure.
If not, no, obviously not. No, he's not sure at all. Or well, that's also something that stands out. let's move on to other matters, other important topics as well. All right. Look, this image is, well, it's also amazing to see. Let's look at it in full screen, okay? Because it's, well, yeah, it's incredible to see the light poles, right? We'll play it in a moment. But I want you to see it like this first. Just first in all its splendor in terms of color, not lighting, etc. At the end, there are intense explosions. That's part of what happened. Now, I'll share a bit about what happened in Dagestan. The Russians themselves have had to record attacks on their own region. And this time, the attack on Dagestan is said to be historic. And even though they were already forbidden from recording and all that, well, the Russians just don't care anymore, right? Yeah. I mean, they go and record and post it on their own social media, which also shows a challenge to Putin, because what they want is to hide the effects of the war inside Russia. Ukraine hit a gas pipeline in Dagestan, and they say it was one of the hardest and most important attacks for the gas supply over there in Russia. This just doesn't stop, does it? Nothing. It's been hitting hard. And well, just yesterday they were talking about a turning point. Now, well, when you see these kinds of attacks, you say, well, that turning point is really focused on reducing things as much as possible. The way this is going, because of the attacks. Not ruling out attacks on Russia from Ukraine, he also launched a response, or a counter-response, so to speak, in which he attacked Kharkiv with drones. Right now, 4 people are reported dead and 10 injured. The attacks caused fires, damage, at least 18 vehicles exploded, and the windows of the building's facades shattered. This is what Oleg was doing, especially in what this Seinogumbo says. The regional governor says that the attacks were quite severe. 10 people were injured and 4 people died among the fatalities. According to the governor, one of the people killed was a 22-year-old woman. He says the enemy struck the city of Chihui. Is that the name of the place? Well, that's how things are in the conflict over there between Ukraine and Russia, right? Also with really serious issues. Another image that also draws attention is this one we're seeing. The one we're seeing.
Here, this is one of the impacts caused by the United States in Syria and Iran, where unfortunately it has affected the water in this village, right? Because it's not a city, it's a small village or settlement, and several villages in this area of Iran depend on this water.
Wow, that's terrible. These kinds of attacks shouldn't be carried out, no matter what country it is. No. Civilian infrastructure shouldn't be touched, right? Those are the rules of countries, let's say civilized, even in war. Well, there's a certain civility in theory, and normally it's assumed that they try to follow up on these kinds of things. Obviously, in wars, many times that's not really done, right? No, these kinds of protocols aren't followed as they should be. And well, that's also shown in these images. Now we have this other image that we're looking at right now.
Here we're looking at this area in Syria, Sirika, the same place where we saw the water issue, but from a satellite view where we can see the strike that hit a base, an Iranian naval base.
All right, let's move on to other important matters. There's still more information about Ukraine, right? What else is happening? What else is going on?
Well, as of today, Ukraine reveals that they plan to carry out daily attacks against against Russia. The wars are even getting mixed up. But Ukraine is planning to carry out daily attacks on Russia with 600 drones and missiles. He said this would be per day. Daily. Zelensky declared this today, where he announced that they have a plan to significantly increase their production, obviously as well, national production of drones and missiles to match or surpass the volume of attacks that Russia is currently launching. And well, in this press conference, he emphasized a lot that the goal is to get production up to 600 drones and missiles per day to carry out these daily attacks against this country. Yeah. And he also announced that they have managed to cut Russian supplies by 71% going from Crimea and to Donetsk. I mean, all of this. What? They carry oil, they carry different military products. All of this has been attacked, so it can't get through. I mean, the military trucks don't manage to reach the bases to where they have to deliver the oil.
Yes, we were talking about it today. That's the issue. I mean, we showed the map of the highway here where 71% of supplies are not reaching the occupied area of Crimea. And we've seen here the images of the lack of gasoline supply, especially since it's left Crimea and other regions almost paralyzed. And there are other areas. It's not just Crimea. I mean, there are other areas that also right now don't have or have very little gasoline. So they're being limited. And that's what's happening. What's happening isn't unusual. It's what occurs when there's a shortage or something is missing. A black market starts to appear, and a black market for gasoline has started to emerge. You go to some houses back there, hidden away, where gasoline is 2 or 3 times more expensive. So on one hand, this black market for gasoline solves people's problems, but on the other hand, it ends up being extremely expensive for them.
And there are also cases like that. I don't know if I posted a video the other day, but a lady explains that right now, just like in apocalyptic movies, right? With zombies and all that, people are starting to steal gasoline from cars. I mean, if they see a car that apparently the neighbor just went and filled up, got some on the black market, I mean, gasoline, you go and steal it from your neighbor, right? So she showed that she had several bottles. She had been stealing gasoline from cars. She knew what she was carrying.
Well, I mean, that's how she's recording it over and over. If it's not good, that's how things are right now. Let's discuss other important topics. Greetings to Tapatia Plus. How are you?
What do you think?
Panterita, this is Francisco Arce. Francisco, how have you been? MT, big greetings, Roble, to the whole community that's joining in. Start sharing, please. And look, let's move on to other matters as well, which are interesting. Well, this video is being reported from the story. I mean, in this video, what they're showing, it's kind of like a malfunction, so to speak. I mean, a malfunction in a stadium where, according to reports, there's just going to be an event, a game between Argentina and Iceland. I imagine it's supposed to be something more like a friendly match or something like that. Yeah. But with the rain and everything is wet. You can see there how everything looks. Well, that's how things are on this topic, right? That's in Alabama over there in the United States, right? Well, it's quite a situation. Let's move on to other important topics as well. Hey, well, on other topics, check this out. France is banning the entry of Israel's finance minister Bezalel Smotrich. Things like this are starting to happen. I mean, in countries like France, European countries that used to have a very good relationship with Israel. Well, now they don't have it as much. The French government announced today that they are banning Israel's finance minister from entering the country because, well, he's a figure who has been involved, indeed, seeking the annexation of the West Bank, as well as the creation of new settlements within that region. In a post on X, the foreign minister, Jean-Noël Barrot, stated that this measure is part of a new package of sanctions against the settlers in the West Bank. also supported by the United Kingdom, as well as by Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and also by Norway. So, well, that's also quite a significant issue. Also, by the way, there is information about what is happening in Taiwan, which we've been giving you updates about. The conflict hasn't stopped. It's getting bigger and bigger. Hey, I mean, this time, once again, we're basically talking about harassment towards these merchant ships by the Chinese. What's going on over there, or what's the situation?
Well, today Taiwan reported an escalation in response to these constant moves by China. Secretary General of the National Security Council, whose name is Joseph Wu, stated that the coastal shipping companies are having these problems with vessels, specifically merchant ships, and the Chinese Coast Guard. Well, they are waters under Taiwan's jurisdiction. However, Beijing sees them as theirs, and this is already creating another kind of tension or more tensions. What's going on with Taiwan?
Look. Also, on the other hand, let's move on to other important matters happening in... Look, the embassy. The embassy. What's happening right now in FIFA with the sweets? With the sweets. It's intense. Let's go with that. Videos have been coming out, videos where you can see sweet owners or their representatives trying to access the sweets. Because when the World Cup is getting closer, suddenly they were told, no, a judge says that FIFA is right. And so, well, they just won't be able to use their sweets, that it just won't be possible. Simply, no. So obviously they've come out to react. The owners or the legal representatives and all that have come out to ask for something. Because in the end, with all this talk about sovereignty, right? Yes. And now, well, FIFA is clearly the one in charge. Because the question is, in theory, you're the owner of those sweets, but in the end, if FIFA decides otherwise, you're not, right?
Exactly. And well, it's not just like they say, hey, let's reach an agreement. Like, hey, you can't, I don't know. What if you keep a percentage of the revenue from the sweets? No. They just directly say you can't enter, you can't bring food, you're going to have to deal with everything. Just like anyone who buys a ticket for the World Cup. And well, yes, it's an issue that the Mexican Association of Box and Seat Holders has been accusing FIFA of being in contempt because there was already an agreement, a court ruling. Someone in the community mentioned it to us the other day. And well, today they suddenly pull something out of nowhere. That another judge said, no, that FIFA is right and things are going to be done the way FIFA wants.
Well, that's how things are in this big business, right? In the end, that's how it is.
I didn't send you the picture showing how things will work during the matches.
Unbelievable.
It's wild. They've already released photos showing what things are going to cost, like a can of beer, for instance. What's up with these prices? 300 pesos a bag of chips, 200 a can of Coca-Cola, 100, 101, 200 pesos. I mean...
Way overpriced. Way overpriced. Look at this camera. That's during a match over in Kazakhstan, between Hungary and Kazakhstan. If you see that camera, I think they call it Spider Cam. Yes, the one that's up above. It's this camera. Take a look at what happens with that camera. Guy, just imagine it falls and a cameraman was just, well, maybe about 3 meters away, something like that. Well, here it is, right? I mean, it's obviously an intense moment. When it falls, he was saved, but just barely, basically. No, obviously an incident was avoided there, which, by the way, caused the match to be suspended for a few minutes because of this, right? Because they had to check what happened and make sure it wouldn't happen again, etc. But that's how it is. That's the situation. Let's move on to other important matters. Hey, well, things are getting intense in Venezuela. And suddenly, it seems like Elsie Rodriguez's government wants to take back control of a mine. Or of some mines, and now they're actually using military level weapons. So this issue is getting intense. So what's been happening?
Well, today there were images of helicopters from special units approaching the area called Las Claritas, which is one of the main gold mining areas over there in Venezuela, that has been arming itself, that has been operating like this for years, basically without, let's say, without any legal basis, right? It said that Diosdado was partly involved in this business, encouraging people to go there, to mine. And well, this large scale operation by the Venezuelan armed forces, well, yes, they were really shocking. They were shooting, just like they say, firing at the people who were there. Witnesses reported helicopter flights, explosions, and movements of hundreds of workers who had to flee in a hurry. These gold extraction areas, known as Las Claritas, also a sector known as Kilometer 88, and two key points of the Orinoco mining arc. This happened after this intervention by the state, which has been going on for years, a very limited presence, because let's say this business was also run by armed groups who managed these mines, collected extortion payments, and well, it was something common, right? People over there already had their own business, right?
Well, you can see the military getting involved in that area. Now, is this because of pressure from the United States, or is it really a sovereign decision by Ciro Rodriguez? Well, who knows, right? But according to the reports, well, there were some movements going on, although I think this is one of the missions that was targeting a leader as well, right? It seems to me that this one was they were going after a leader somewhere, and there have been images circulating of helicopters flying near the mines. I don't know if it's one of the leaders who are operating there.
Yes. Well, that's their version. Their version is that they were after a leader of this group called Kilometer 88. That the objective was to clear out unauthorized operations and weaken this organization that controls some of these groups and also carries out extortion. And the organization International Crisis Group told Bloomberg that they had received numerous reports about military movements in the area. A researcher named Bram Ebers pointed out that the security forces, they were restricting access to Las Claritas, and aircraft were operating from different points of the site.
No. Well, some images are coming out that we'll have to wait to confirm. But this area kind of reminds us a bit of what sometimes happens in the Congo.
Exactly, yes, it's very similar. In fact, it's on the border with Brazil. Sometimes some Brazilians cross over too. It's not just miners. There are also people, let's say civilians, teachers, public employees, workers from different sectors who, well, aren't making enough money. And just like in the Republic of Congo, they go there to see if they can get lucky.
Finishing something there is crazy. Let's address other important matters. Well, this is happening right now. There is a group of individuals who have been breaking into areas where they believe there are migrants, houses where supposedly there are migrants, and they have been trying to set the houses on fire with people inside. I mean, this is a serious issue in England. What's happening in Ireland, right?
Yes, Northern Ireland in Belfast. Remember that a few days ago there was this case of a guy, I think he was 40 years old, who lost his life after being attacked by an immigrant. And instead of helping him, the police, I think, put handcuffs on him. So he ended up losing his life. Well, this has been escalating because the truth is that the government hasn't known how to handle this anger, since there have been many years of different cases like this. Today there was another terrible incident with an immigrant who tried to cut off someone else's head right there. Well, unfortunately, these protests are becoming more and more violent. Today they went to different places. There are areas where there are houses that belong to immigrants. Let's say the government itself pays for them and many families live there, or several families live together, right? The thing is that the anger is growing and so is the violence.
But anyway, That's how things are in Belfast. Now, that's in Belfast, in Ireland. It's a serious situation. Let's move on to other topics. And it's a problem that's been growing for years. And they do absolutely nothing to integrate those immigrants. They remain isolated. And at the same time, while they keep coming, and without any significant control. Now, let's move on to other topics. Is there anything else? No. Let's go to the comments.
Sí.
Well, let's just move on. Let's quickly go to other matters. Look. Well, a series of storms is being reported that will be spreading toward the United States. There are 120 million people who are currently under severe storm and tornado alerts in the United States in that country. What is happening in this region of the United States?
Well, right now, an alert has been issued for millions of people in the northern and central United States who are under this alert from today, Tuesday, until Thursday. This is due to a sequence of severe storms with the risk of hail, wind gusts, and tornadoes. And it involves all of the Great Plains and the upper Midwest, Mexico, where federal and state meteorological authorities are keeping this warning active, according to the Weather Service. National at NWS and NOAA, the event includes a risk rated as level 3 out of 5 that covers regions like Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and the Storm Prediction Center. They report that storms with supercells are expected, which are capable of producing large hail, even as big, in some cases, wind gusts over 120 kilometers per hour and tornadoes of varying intensities. So they have confirmed that the atmosphere supports it. In other words, the Weather Channel's weather portal acknowledges the likelihood of extreme events in many of these areas due to the movement of a frontal system and, in addition, the presence of warm and humid air at the surface.
There we can see, starting today, how those storms are forming and how they will progress. They're very widespread, aren't they? Stronger wind gusts are being distributed. Incluso, de hecho, parte de México también va a tener esas tormentas. Central America, the south part of South America, and the United States in storms and significant rainfall at the surface. So that's how it's been consistently. So, well, let's go. Actually, even on the day of the World Cup, right? For example, on Thursday, there will possibly be rain in some areas. In fact, even on the day of the World Cup, for example, on Thursday, there will possibly be rain in Mexico City. If we look here at what's happening in Mexico, right? If we look at winds above certain kilometers, for example, Thursday, the 11th at around 2 p.m., right? At 2 p.m., we're already seeing movement and tornadoes presence on Thursday, the 11th at 2 p.m. in Mexico City, right? We're seeing it there. That would be Thursday, right? But the main thing is strong wind gusts and possible tornadoes or movement at noon. It's fine. Same presence. Yes. And then afternoon around 4 in the afternoon, gusts, wind speeds over kilometers per hour and moving tornadoes, the storm, well, maybe the opening will be with rain, right? You can have a game with rain. Yes, you can.
It would need to be extremely intense to feel that warm and humid.
But yes, it can be done.
Extremely strong wind gusts, like enough to cause a suspension or something. Let's see what happens, right? Come on now. And tornadoes moving. Entonces vamos a ver qué pasa, ¿no? Vámonos pues a... How do you... Visit them, those who are new, and also those who have been here for a long time. Please, comment. Where are you watching us from? In these cases, wind gusts stronger than everyone else. Those who are here for the first time, passing by, and don't know whether to comment or not, because everyone is already chatting, right? Well, go ahead, join the conversation. Feel free to talk, because that's what the community is for, right? Phrase that my dad always tells us. I don't know, very interesting phrases. He says phrases. All its life the sheep feared the wolf, but it was the shepherd who ate it. Interesting. All right. Cases gusts stronger than the good ones. He says greetings, kilometers oak. Sendeño says femen, says time. And he says tornadoes, movement, me and warm. And greetings to Weekoff. And greetings also to Blanca's father.
Wind gusts stronger than Leonardo, the kilometers per, and that's how I already uploaded the tornadoes of my little dog Moreau. Movement community, thank you for your work, and thank you, Leonardo. We'll see him soon, right? Of course. Greetings to Presencia de Calido and also to Surface. Who else haven't we greeted yet?
Us to Luis Ortiz.
What's up, those at kilometers world per hour, tornadoes of movement, and it gives the world, it goes as music says, and humid. Greetings, music. How have you been, the Surface?
What cases?
The kilometers like this, hour, tornadoes, movement, Macosta. This, the rotation we're seeing, the warm and humid surface.
Cases, wind gusts of kilometers per hour and moving tornadoes.
Warm, and now it turns out that
Greetings, Javi. How are you? Wilgoth cases, what's up? Greetings, Carmen. How are you? Wind gusts of kilometers per hour, moving tornadoes, presence of greetings off. How are you, Wilkoff? What's up? Greetings, Carmen. The Surface. Saludos.
Saludos. Paenza Paz Mosquelo. Gusts of the sarcasm said the nice thing about people understand and dumb people get offended. Yes, kilometers. I know by tornadoes moving, a humid one. And the Surface. Dice, más UFOs, menos guerra, dice con Randall.
Sí, ya sé. Tienes
Más
razón.
UFOs, menos guerra.
Sí.
The official or hospitality packages in exclusive areas for high demand matches can exceed 120 kilometers per hour.
1,000 Mexican pesos. Greetings, Panterita. Cases. Gusts over kilometers per hour, tornadoes, Leonardo present.
hey, but it's really warm and wind gusts above.
The distance traveled and the little dog's presence. Greetings, Leonardo. Thanks for sharing. Today, he's in his onesie, dressed well since it's warm.
It's barely above.
Here he is, right? What's his name? His name is Moro. Moro, right? Moro, there he is.
Se llama Moro.
Moro, ¿verdad? Moro, ahí está.
Moro. In Mexico, the World Party will be on the street. I hope no one enters the stadium so that FIFA turns it down a notch. Well, I don't know here in Mexico, but there are stadiums in the United States that still have a lot of space. I mean, they haven't sold out yet. Hansi, yes, what is he saying? Warm humidity and strong gusts are factors. Plus, Americans aren't big soccer fans. Who will watch soccer? Well, kilometers per hour, and aren't you afraid of those moving tornadoes? Well, I would be scared, of course it could be. So, well, there it is, right? I mean, maybe people won't feel like going. Maybe only those who are really interested will go.
Wind gusts foreigners, it's just that if I go with moving tornadoes, the presence of warm and humid air at the surface, maybe only people who are really interested will feel like going.
Okay, ya nos moving warm and humid air near the stadiums against ice. I mean, that's been getting intense too. For example, a topic that Iran brought up on the surface.
Cases, it says gusts also go above, let's say, kilometers per hour, tornadoes moving of an innocent person. He said, and humid at FIFA and on the surface.
It says cases, FIFA. Hey, are they denying the Iranians visas to go watch the games? And it says, well, you know, FIFA always says, well, we can't do anything. And the emplacement, and now they are being kicked out. Even if they have the visa, they the presence of, well, many Iranians, some warm, and I don't know if there are that many, but well, some Iranians who had already paid for the hotel, who had already paid for certain things. Well, they're already being kicked out. Just imagine that. Wow. Edilcia tells us that there's an earthquake. Look at that. At higher elevations, it's warm and humid, according to published info about the surface.
Let's check it. But look, Edilcia, I'm sending you a shout out. Here is your report. You tell us that there were wind gusts of kilometers and the Costa Rica Seismological Observatory. Well, it's an earthquake with a significant magnitude. So let's go ahead and see how serious the situation is, right? Look at this. Here it is, the USGS from the United States already has it too. This is the earthquake that reportedly happened in Costa Rica, on the surface in Costa Rica. Close, by the way, to this area of Liberia, right? And the earthquake would be, according to Rafaga's wind, and the earthquake would be, according to the United States Seismological Service, a 5 Just like that, exactly the same. 5.1 with a depth of 65 kilometers per hour displacement. A 5 just like that, exactly the same. 5.1 and a depth of 65 kilometers. That's on the surface. Tornado cases.
Wind gusts, humid air, and an earthquake in Costa Rica. How did it feel? As they say, war needs three things: money, money, and money. Right? Presence of Guinea per hour and PP to everyone. Greetings from Chile. Salama Wiko says, I'm not a lomito, but I was also furry. Ha ha ha, humid on the surface. Wind over kilometers per hour and secure the World Cup. The images look tremendous. They are present and humid states.
Right? Gusts or wind kilometers per hour. Super active tornadoes. All presence of, right? Warm, right? Yes, yes. And Tepatia Pepe says, I saw on the Canadian news that surfaced. No, sí.
Dice Tepatías, from the Air Canada pilot who flew without a license for 20 years. The line, but just imagine that. I mean, warm, humid presence to comment on it.
What? Wind gusts at kilometers per hour and tornadoes moving? It's crazy. I mean, now there's that warm presence that gusts, Blanca, right? More than 100,000 soldiers. Is it enough kilometers for and tornadoes? The presence of moisture on the surface. There's that point that Blanca mentions, one of the 100,000 soldiers. Is it enough to keep the stadium safe? Not specifically. I know that all three stadiums are secured. But more specifically, I know that usually those kinds of cities are secured, and well, it's not just the soldiers, right? There are intelligence people, not just rapid deployment units. We'll operate for a while now. I was going to say, I don't know, call me paranoid, but I've been noticing this for about 2 months because it's always the same routes that we use. Cases where groups of people appear to me, those are agents focused on monitoring and checking wind, the kilometers per hour, and the speed, displacement, tornadoes, the cars they bring, and all that in the areas where the stadiums and the surface are.
Well,
yes, like guards, right? Like, besides, they're all like that. Men, 30, 40 years old. I mean, strong guys here. Some even, well, clearly with all their military style backpacks. Well, they're not exactly hiding either, right? We've seen them moving. They're not really hiding, are they? We've been seeing them over and over in all these areas where the stadiums are. I imagine that they're from other countries too, right? I mean, they come to check every little detail of everything, right? All the security. Well, yes, these are very international events and also places where problems can happen, right? And he says, I have my elephant trunk pajamas, says Wilkes. Greetings from Colombia. How have you been? Hello. He says, well, the spheres do appear normal in my country. And warm and humid presence at the surface.
This gusts higher than Pablo Flores, who says from Iran is just 10 kilometers. I mean, it just covers. Greetings, displacement, warm at the surface.
Gusts.
That's very good information, Pepe.
Noob United States helicopter.
Cases, wind gusts higher. They were rescued and tornadoes moving. Presence of warm, humid surface.
Rescued according to reports without injuries or anything, right? Supposedly Tepatia says yes, but they are given mandatory exams twice during the tornado's movement and they never check their papers. Incredible. Of warm and humid, yes.
I mean, yes. Stronger winds, something like kilometers per hour, and moving tornadoes, and the presence of warm, it says, and humid surface years.
100 flights without a license, and he was scamming an airline for millions. The former pilot Viento Kilómetros, by the way, and Tornados Desplazamiento was arrested on June 1st, 2026, accused of having commanded more than 900 domestic and international flights. This for 17 years without having the required, mandatory qualification to fly. As part of the investigation called Project Icarus, this investigation determined that Surface Wall, 59 years old, originally from Barrie, Ontario, never held the required airline transport license. Cases, gusts, wind stronger than, who collected $2.9 million from them, and he piloted planes, moving dozens of passengers on board, according to the police. And despite the fact that he earned $2.9 million in salary, he piloted planes with tens of thousands of passengers on board, according to a statement released by the regional police. His wind gusts stronger than a captain in 2009, from then until his retirement in 2025. Well, he already retired. He operated, the kilometers traveled, the warm presence, and now the surface is humid. Wind gusts stronger than those at the controls of Boeing 767, 777, and 787 aircraft during that period, according to the police investigation. He submitted documentation on several occasions. He presented documents for tornado displacement. According to the police investigation, he submitted documentation several times and presented from Tamariz. That's how he presented documents, but they were warm and they didn't check if they were fake or not, right? It's clear. Humid. In a world where, yes,
What cases? Time. And besides,
or maybe forged for displacement warm, and neither the airline nor before Transport Canada humid cases aviation gusts, they never noticed. Stronger than the tornadoes, the process that happened, warm presence, and 2025, and he says, during a routine operational assessment at Terminal 1 of Pearson International Airport in Mississauga, the examiners detected anomalies in the pilot's license documentation. Transport Canada initiated a regulatory review, and once it was concluded, they transferred the case to the Peel Regional Police at the beginning of 2026. The investigation only began in January of this year. Yes, the investigation. Officers from the fraud unit conducted a search of Wall's house in February of this year. They also obtained other court warrants, questioned superiors, and requested a forensic analysis. Displacement. The National Office Against the Presence of Judicial Officers. They questioned witnesses and requested a forensic analysis from the National Office Against Counterfeiting in Ottawa. O sea, ya ahí notaste that the documents in Ottawa, I mean, at that point, they noticed that Wall's license did not have the altered, right? After 7 years of certification for commercial pilot. Obtaining it requires additional approval, and it is the minimum requirement to command an aircraft. Wall did have a CPLA, that is a commercial one, meaning he did have a regular commercial pilot license. He did have that one. Even though he had cases of captain gusts, he couldn't command flights, but he still did it, right? Or wind speeds higher than kilometers per hour, and tornadoes, presence of a commercial pilot. But well, this case is really crazy. Warm. And well, this case is really crazy. Let's see what else comes out of this detail. Greetings in cases. About this case, Tepatitan. Until next time, have a good day.
they collaborate with the governments, the country's military, or they collaborate with them. Kilometers per hour, tornadoes, movement, the headquarters, but with each country, teamwork is done, but they themselves don't have a warm, humid presence. No.
I imagine that they must have a much better relationship with the armies, right, of each country and with intelligence agents.
Yes, surely they also have a specialist, right? Someone who helps them. But besides that, they don't have an army. Greetings to Marcela Riquelme as well.
My namesake, Jose here, 1054 105,410. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says that pilot, that one catches him. If you can, tell us about it.
That movie is really good.
Imagine if it existed too, by the way. The real case, right?
Yes, it's a completely real case. Greetings to Son. And Son, good evening. Greetings, Son. Greetings as well. Wico says, today there was a big explosion in Sinaloa. Let's see if there isn't one in Guadalajara. Greetings, Wico.
That's intense, Waiko. How have you been? Hello there.
Greetings, Monica Ortiz. That pilot was Denzel Washington. The greetings are over.
The greetings are over. How have you been?
Hello there, greetings as well. Let's see who and what we have agreed on. Leonardo Pipi Papilla says, the truth is, Wall Street is waiting for the launch of Anthropic, ChatGPT, and SpaceX. AI companies could redirect investments. Leonardo says,
Yes, Leonardo. I mean, right now, nothing. They're just making $500,000 because they're having issues right now with the whole technology thing. I mean, they're having issues right now with the China situation. They're having issues. I mean, some minor issues, but nothing serious either, right? They're also waiting to see what the next steps with AI will be. I mean, it's been kind of rough. If we compare how the S&P 500 has been, which has been strong, well, this topic is, look, we can see it there, right? I mean, that's the NASDAQ, which is precisely the tech companies, right? It's not doing super well, but it's not doing terribly bad either, right? But yeah, it has had some issues here and there. What else? What else is out there?
Hello, everyone. Let's greet each other.
Wolf Postado.
Hello, yes.
Greetings to Joel Rivas, to Harry Kane. He's also here. Edith Bonadil. We send her our regards.
Francisco Arce, Walter Osorio. Walter, how are you doing over there?
What else?
Greetings to Let's See Andrade. Greetings to Emma. Greetings also to Vic Sega. How are you, Vic Sega? To Vidal Reyes, who is watching us from Houston, Texas. Greetings, Vidal. And also greetings to, what does it say here? Empty Mexico, the party. Look, yes, we're reading it. Greeting.
Yes, great. Well, let's go. Let's go.
Let's go, guys. Remember that we're on WhatsApp and Telegram, and we send you notifications about the live streams, and we're also on Facebook, X, and Insta.
When SpaceX launches, it's going to be really crazy.
Yeah, right? He would become and be again the world's first trillionaire.
Expectations are very high. Greetings, Francisco. Eugenio, how have you been? Good evening. Greetings to Puerto Rico. Eugenio, how is everyone there? Grants. Very good. Vic Sega says here in the live chat that the Japan team is staying at Aqua in front of Plaza Metropolitan and the traffic gets really bad. Vic Sega.
Where, Vic?
No, but aren't they over there? Did they go to the United States?
They went to
They went to Nashville. Yes, that's right.
They just left for air, I think.
Yeah, they're training. But their headquarters were there.
Their headquarters are
Their headquarters are over there, but they came here for a bit.
scout out the area.
Yeah, just to see how things are going.
They've already fixed the volcano too.
Really?
Yeah, they put in some FIFA stuff, so everything's ready. Right now, the people from Tunisia are here. They're the ones here at the moment. They're here. Now, today is their turn to train and sweep. Oh, the soccer player. Oh, what a shadow that is. Look, it seems like this could work. Yeah.
Well then, hey, enjoy your meal to those who are having dinner.
Just kidding.
We're gonna have dinner.
Yes, let's joke. Let's joke. A joke for grumpy people. Mom, today at school, we learned how to make explosive. That's great, Jaimito. And tomorrow, what are you going to learn at school? What school? Well, yes.
Lava. Right, that's true. That's what would happen in an hour.
Hello there. Man, it's just that, I'm hungry right now.
All right, guys. See you later. Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Well, we're still here. I mean, if there's anything else, we'll come back right now, but you know how this goes. Anyway, a big hug. Thanks for being with us. It was a really, really good day. As always, I think with everything that's happening around the world with conflict, things are going to get even busier. Let's go. See you later.
We interrupt your regular programming. 12. Thank you for tuning in to the truth. This is Live. Live! Live! Taking over the airwaves. Pepe and Astrid telling it like it is. The Eva, raw journalism, here it's respected. Activate. Alert. Don't lose track. Subscribe. Pepe Live in the house. Subscribe.